And welcome back. Now, KwaZulu-Natal Premier Nomusa Dube-Ncube says that the province's unemployment rate remains the highest of all provinces, but recovery plans are in place to address the unemployment crisis. Now, delivering her first State of the Province address in the legislature in Pietermaritzburg, Premier Dube-Ncube said that each government department in KwaZulu-Natal will contribute at least 10 million rand towards the fight against crime and recovery plans in place to address unemployment. Dube-Ncube also provided an update on the work that has been done so far to rehouse the thousands of people who were displaced by last year's floods. The Premier now joins us via Zoom to further unpack the State of the Province address. Premier, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Hi, good morning, Sakina. Good morning to you, viewers at home. Thank you very much for having us.
So, Premier, if we could perhaps just start with the unemployment statistics for KwaZulu-Natal, and they don't make for good reading, and this, of course, has been a common feature, not only for this year's SOPA, but previous ones as well. So what happened with regard to the plans that were in place from the previous SOPA to address some of these concerns and to actually deal with unemployment?
Yes, it's true, Sakina, that unfortunately our unemployment numbers have really become very stubborn in terms of trying to recover from all the floods, from all the COVID, as well as the July unrest. But we are working very hard as the province because if you look at the number of, shops that were looted or the ones that were damaged by the floods, almost most of them are up and running now. We just have we are at 95%. The companies that were also affected by floods, almost all of them are up and running, and they are trying to recover. And of course, those are some of the reasons, really, and in particular the floods that really disrupted even more, because you had problems of road infrastructure, water infrastructure, electricity infrastructure. And if you think about the small and medium enterprises that get affected even more when there are these disruptions, and again, added to that, you would know that the issue of energy crisis that is with us and with the country at the moment, it doesn't even make the situation better. But we do remain resolute in our economic recalibration, transformation and recovery, which really targets the increasing the levels of investment within the priority areas of clothing and textile, the agricultural industry, the export development, the value chain within various commodities in our province, as well as the renewable energies that we are working on to ensure that we bring that stable energy usage to many of our users and our economy.
And we're going to come back to that in just a moment. But many people actually feel that State of the Province addresses, as well as State of the Nation address, is just about rhetoric. It's about platitudes, throwing numbers at people without them necessarily meaning anything, because the following year, the President or the Premiers come back and they regurgitate a new set of facts or numbers without necessarily looking at how they've progressed. So let's take, for example, last year with Premier Zigalala at the helm, he had said that in the year 2022-2023, KwaZulu-Natal, there would be 10,000 job opportunities that will be created throughout the province in housing projects, and also that 1,000 youth will be trained as artisans in bricklaying, carpentry and plumbing. So taking just that simple set of promises, how has the province fared in making sure that they actually delivered on that?
Well, Sakina, we've definitely surpassed that target that we set for ourselves last year in terms of the various areas where we had made targets. If you look at our numbers that have been verified even by the Stats South Africa or any of our, measurements that we use, we have surpassed many of those numbers. If you look at particularly in the infrastructure, sector, we have been able to get close to about 300,000 jobs that were created within the infrastructure sector alone. And if you look at other areas of small and medium enterprises, more than actually 10,000 jobs opportunities were created in those sectors as well, let alone if you look at our interventions through the EPWP program that is sitting right now at about 58,000 people that were able to get job opportunities in the last year alone. If you look at our numbers, maybe in the past 3 years, we had targeted ourselves with a target of about 600,000 within 3 years. We are now sitting at 500,000 as it is before the end of this financial year, and we are hoping that by the end of this financial year, we would have even surpassed the target that we've set for ourselves in there.
I deliberately zoomed in on that, Premier, because the numbers are small, they are doable. I'd anticipated that you would say that you have perhaps overshot and performed better than that. But 1,000 youth to be trained as artisans, bricklaying, in bricklaying, carpentry, and plumbing. So has that happened? Did you train those 1,000 youth? Did they receive the requisite certification to go with that, to say that we have now trained these young people and they can now go out into the world of work rather, and apply these trades?
Yes, Sakina, we've definitely trained that amount of youth. How we guarantee that, Sakina, is that for every infrastructure project that we do as government, we set aside the monies for every contractor that gets a job. They have a particular number of young people that they've got to bring in. So it doesn't depend on that contractor whether you take them or not. They are funded from the government, fiscus over and above what the contractor would also employ when they are doing that particular work. And it is in that, score that we have been able to guarantee those numbers that we are talking about, and even more. And we are also able to then have those young people, whether they are engineers, whether they're architects, whether they're carpentry, whether they're plumbers, we are then able to get them to be set up through our youth fund to open their own small businesses, or to be able to get into the normal job industry if they are not able to open their own jobs. So that's how we are packaging, guaranteeing that for every project. Like this year, we've also set aside about 100 million rands that will go towards the infrastructure training and development of the up-and-coming young people in various of those projects that are going to be done by various departments. If you look at our numbers of the projects that we are going to be doing, whether you're talking housing, whether you're talking roads infrastructure, whether you're talking community halls, we're talking business, precinct right now, and various hubs. All of those areas are ensuring that they give us that kind of jobs. We also been able, through the Presidential Youth Employment Program, right now we've been able, since that program started, we've been able to create 73,000 jobs, and that will be found within the Education Department, the Community Safety Departments, as well as within the Youth Directorate, and all of those jobs have been created in this financial year that we are about to close now.
So if I were to ask you for a database of all of those youth that you speak about, you would be able to provide me with that, Premier?
Definitely.
Great.
Definitely will be able to provide that, Sakina. We have that information actually readily available. We were working on it in the past 2 weeks. We have been looking at that, but also verifying some of the information so that we make sure that whatever that we are talking about can be verified in numbers. That's why we spend a lot of time looking at the monitoring areas, at the evaluation of those numbers, but also looking at the database of those people that we are talking about, whether there are actually warm bodies and ID numbers that we can actually verify that, yes, those were human beings that went through those programs.
So, Premier, we don't have much time. I want to talk about the electricity crisis. And you spoke about establishing a war room to tackle the electricity crisis. How are you anticipating that will assist in you dealing with the crisis?
Well, it's going to assist, Sakina, by ensuring that we have a coordinated way of dealing with the energy crisis. But also, more than that, we have a team of experts that are going to be helping us in this energy war room that we are talking about. We are also accelerating other projects as government, such as the rolling out of the rooftop solar panels for government department, using LED lighting as government departments, but also ensuring that our new RDP houses are retrofitted with your solar geysers, as well as the solar rooftops, where those projects are able even now to start looking at that. Over and above that, you will remember that in our report that we tabled, we gave you a practical numbers of what we are going to be doing, working with eThekwini, but also in the province as a whole. We have a number of projects such as the one that Eskom is doing, which is a 300 megawatts gas to power plant, which is in Richards Bay. We've got another power plant, it's called Mabasa Energy and Fuels, also in Richards Bay. And we've got another one, which is another NFE, a gas supply power plant. And all of these power plants, including the one that Eskom is doing right now, which is a flagship of Eskom, it's going to be based, it's called the Battery Energy Storage System. This one is going to be based in Pietermaritzburg, around the municipalities of Impendle, around Umsunduzi. They're doing this. This is going to be creating about 32 megawatts per hour of energy, and this on its own can power the whole small town for more than 4 hours. And these are practical projects that are already in existence, that are ready to be put into the grid as we talk, but also while we are exploring other ways as government to ensure that we do have that secure energy supply in order for us to stabilize our economy.
Final question, Premier. What about the issue of flood victims and the relief funds around that? So quite a lot has been reported, but what is the status right now?
Well, the status right now, Sakina, is that we had 135 mass care centers that were remaining before December. And we have built the temporary residential units, about 1,810 of them. And we've also supplied 576 building material vouchers to those that had their houses that were partially damaged. And the 4,000 4,700 displaced families that were in the mass care centers. All of them, not a single one of them had Christmas or spent Christmas in the mass care centers. We have been able to accommodate all of them in the temporary residential flats, which are in various areas of our province. We've really tried to make sure that as much as possible that we get that accommodation where people reside, but where, particularly in the township and other areas of informal settlement where there are no accommodation nearby, we've then had to try the next nearby areas to house those communities. So they are, right now in their safe and secured, flats. Of course, Sakina, those are not permanent houses for them. As we talk, there are projects that are very advanced in terms of building the permanent houses for those communities that are temporarily housed in those flats. And we are really working hard to ensure that at least before the end of this year, at least half of those people, if not all, but at least our target is that half of them should have moved to their permanent houses as we talk. While, of course, the issue of the road infrastructure, such as roads, sanitation, water, and electricity becomes essential, because we cannot build houses without the requisite water and electricity or bulk water and sanitation infrastructure being available. So that is the work that we are now concentrating on to ensure that we really keep up with the numbers. Of course, you would know that we are also helping those that are having their kids going to school. We've assisted them with the transport, scholar transport, so that at least they can also be able to go to school.
Premier, we unfortunately have to leave it there, but I really would like to speak to you at another opportunity, because there's quite a lot to really drill down to. So hopefully we will have another opportunity. But for today, that's where we're going to have to leave it. And that was Nomusa Dube-Ncube, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal.